The Garden Report is brought to you by FanDuel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
Speaking of role players, I'm not thinking about Bobby. I'm thinking about Bobby's guy, Luke. Go on, Bobby.
You want to do the transition?
Listen, lace him up, Bobby, and take your victory lap. Go ahead. He was
Bobby
good,
Manning,
man. Your guy was
Bobby
good.
Manning joins us after the Celtics win, where Luke Kornet had this game of the season: 20 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks. You know the stat line, Bobby. What do you have to say up there on the podium?
Your boy was balling.
Yeah, he was Luke on the podium, and it took a moment to be grateful for the opportunity he got tonight. And that's something he stresses, that he gets set up in a lot of the opportunities to score well by his teammates. So yeah, he's taken on that role. He's always been someone who's talked about how he's not out there to get stats. He's out there to make the game easier for his teammates. So nothing out of the ordinary there. A lot of love from teammates talking about how funny he is, and just how helpful he is out there on the floor when he is out there. And that's something I've stressed all along. I've never been out here saying he's the best player in the world or he deserves to. Well, I made the case at the beginning of the last year they deserve to start, but
he's the best player in the world.
All I've stressed is that he's a good player. He deserves to be out there, and that as far as a third big goes, and that's what he is on this team, he's a great fit for that position, and you can win minutes with him out there, and not many teams can say that about their third center. You have Kristaps, you have Al, and on a night like tonight, and I said this, Sherrod, earlier in the season, you went out and beat the 76ers with Embiid last year with Kornet starting, and this isn't a contender here in Toronto or anything, but you got great minutes out of him tonight and a win in large part because of him. And I just don't want to hear the hate anymore about him.
Well, Bobby, you will hear the hate about him, but not tonight, because he doesn't deserve it. He deserves all the praise, all the adulation for what he did tonight. But here's the thing, Josue and I talked about this earlier. My big issue with Luke is that on nights when you don't have an Al, where you don't have a Porzingis, where you don't have a Tatum or a Brown, Luke has all what we saw tonight in his bag. And yet on those nights when opportunities to display that with no resistance, you don't have the minutes crunch that you'd have when those other guys I just mentioned are around. We don't see this. And it doesn't feel as though it's a thing where Joe Mazzulla is saying, Luke, don't you look to score. Luke, don't you go attack the glass on the offensive boards. Don't do that. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like Luke is just comfortable being that screen setter, letting Tatum or Brown, whichever one is playing, do their thing, and not assert himself more into the flow of what they're looking to do at either end of the floor. And that, for me, is the frustration. I want Luke on nights like this to do this. When you don't have a Porzingis, where you don't have an Al, they need someone to be that guy in the front court. And he has the skills clearly to do that. It's just that, from the outside looking in, it feels as though it's more of a mental thing with Luke than a physical thing, that he's very comfortable being this screen setting, jumping in the middle of the paint when the big is shooting from the three-point line, defensive kind of guy, as opposed to what we saw tonight, which was a guy that was actively engaged at both ends of the floor, mixing it up with guys looking to block shots, catching lobs late in the game, doing the kind of things that he has the ability to do, things that frankly should be magnified more so on these type of nights when there's so many guys that normally are ahead of him in the pecking order, nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and he asserted himself early. All the touches around the rim, tip-ins, whatever it might be, being active. And as a screener, this is why I don't think a lot of people think he's good, is that the things he does are subtle. Like, he's a great screener. He's really good in that handoff game. He sets good angles. And one thing Joe talked about tonight is against the team that was switching everything, as Toronto did, especially in the second half, he makes teams uncertain. Like, do they want to put 2 on the ball? If he gets the ball in the pocket, he's going to make good passes and good decisions out of there. He's not going to score a ton like he did tonight, but he's always going to do little things, I think, to help the offense and the defense. Like, I know he got beat at times in this game, but he was going against a 5-out lineup for much of it. And McDaniels really got going in the fourth quarter, but Joe stayed with him because he was able to impact shots around the rim and then on offense create that indecision. So I just think again, to go back to the Kada conversation we've had, you do have a more physically imposing player in Kada as the alternative here, but you're getting much more rock solid minutes out of Luke here. And this is, of course, abnormal for him in terms of just how great this night was. But he does all these little things night to night, and it won't be a surprise to see them keep going back to him in that role of that third center that just gives you those rock solid 5-10 minutes to spell the other guys and allow them to play a little double big with Horford and Porzingis.
Yeah, I mean, he was. Go ahead, Joseph. You got it.
No, I was going to say real quick. You wonder if having those guys out, it's not a comforting factor for Luke, but knowing that okay, I can settle in. Yeah, exactly. It's encouraging because I can settle into my offense. If I can get going a little bit, I know that there's just a short leash out there where if I'm not performing at a certain level, I'm going to be yanked and benched for the rest of the night.
Remember there was a play, Joe Sway, in that Philly game earlier in the year where he committed an offensive foul and he just ran back to the other side of the floor knowing he was coming out.
No, you didn't see him the rest of the night.
Well, the thing that again, and I don't want to beat this to death, but I love when Luke looks to be more than what you're expecting Luke to be. The little things that you're talking about, Bobby, he does those night in, night out, and that's great. But there are nights when he can do more than that, and this is one of those nights. And I want Luke to get to the point where he recognizes on nights like this, where you don't have an Al, where you don't have a Porzingis, you don't have a Tatum or a Brown, do more than you're capable of doing because they're going to need you to do more. And I just think that there's too many games where these opportunities present themselves and Luke doesn't maximize those opportunities. He sticks to doing what he does well, which is the little things, and that's great. But there are nights when he has an opportunity and clearly has the ability to do more than that, and that's what I want to see him do.
Yep.
I think all year this bench has been a pleasant surprise, Joe Sway, and tonight just another example of that. And beyond Luke, there were just so many good performances from guys. Shvee even hit a shot. You had Ben coming in.
Even Shvee hit a shot. Damn, Bobby.
Well, he hasn't been much of a contributor.
No, I know.
All year,
you're not used to seeing him out there. And plus, no, before you actually hopped on, I was saying how the all hands on deck type of game where he's getting meaningful minutes. Like that wasn't garbage time when he checked in. He only played 7, but again, these are meaningful minutes.
Right. And who made the final stop of the game, Sherrod? O'Shea Brissett rotating over.
FanDuel is the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.